Alright guys, welcome to another episode of Everyday EDC. My name is Tyler, and today we're going to do something a little bit different because I've been failing at naming blade shapes in my videos, and I figured let's learn together, right? So I'm going to start a series basically saying Knife 101. For those of you who kind of know everything, then get the hell out of here because none of us really know everything, and if you're willing to learn and learn with me, then bring it. So, forgive the animation or the art. I shouldn't say animation. I didn't have a printer, and I kind of just went to my computer and just tried to draw some of these, right? So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go over blade shapes, and I'm just going to explain what they look like. That's all we're doing. We're not going to explain what they're good at or anything of that nature. I'm just going to go over a few basic blade shapes so you can identify them when you see them, okay? First and foremost, we got the clip point style blade, which would be your Civivi Dogma. Now your clip point, if you can see this shitty drawing that I got, it's going to have this where it kind of swoops in, right? You see that swoop on that blade right there? Now, the difference between a trailing point and a clip point, as if you look at my other shitty drawing right here, let's get this up here. This other shitty drawing right here, the difference is this would carry out a little bit almost backwards, right? The swoop would come in and come out and up. That would make it a trailing point. So the Civivi Dogma is a prime example of a clip point. And again, this may be boring for some people. I don't really give a shit. I figured I needed to get my terminologies down a little bit better, and some of you may need to too, so let's go. And I'm giving examples of knives if I have them. So the next on the list is the Tanto. You can't see it. I'm gonna just fuck that thing. Tanto. So the Tanto is gonna look... And unfortunately, I don't have a Tanto, and I told you I don't like them. That's probably why I don't have one. What's a good example? If you can imagine this being a normal-looking knife, and instead of this swaying back right here, the blade is going to come straight out, and then it's going to cut at an angle, so that you have almost two blade surfaces. You have the straight and the belly of the blade, and then the tip. It almost looks like a scraper almost at the end, but not quite. You know, they have those knives out there that have the flat scraper, not that kind. That's what a Tanto is. Now they also have a reverse Tanto, which I have on the list, which is a prime example of, say, your Osborne 940, right? The Benchmade Osborne comes out and it looks like this almost, right? If this wasn't called a cleaver blade, you could call it a reverse Tanto. This is the thing with knives, is as you start learning these things, you start realizing that there is so much gray area that you can try your hardest all damn day to figure out what's what, but good fucking luck, because they take a combination of all of them together. Very rarely do you get one very straightforward, and I have a very straightforward one that I can show you here shortly. On the list here, we have the spear and the dagger grind. These are very similar. The spear is going to come up and it's going to swoop back, almost paralleling this side's angle, but then it's going to come down, right? It's going to come and then straight back. And this typically isn't sharpened on that spear point. The dagger grind usually is a parallel all the way around. It's a mirror image of itself on the other side. And typically these do have double-edged blades, so both sides are going to be sharp, so you got to be careful with those. Moving right along here, the drop point. I've seen on several different sites, and through research that I've done, that a drop point looks more like this, where it goes up and then it swoops back. It doesn't come straight back. But if you look here, this is what they would call a straight edge, but it's also a drop point. I mean, it's a basic drop point blade, but they call it a straight edge because this is not straight edge, but straight point, because this is almost straight back. It doesn't swoop. Moving right along, we have the sheep's foot. Your Civivi McKenna. This is your stereotypical, it's almost like I traced that sumbitch, stereotypical sheep's foot. I drew this wrong. It shouldn't come straight back. It does kind of bevel out a little bit in accordance with a lot of the things that you're seeing, but it's this rounded off edge right here that make it the sheep's foot. It looks like a sheep's foot. That's why they call it a sheep's foot. Similar to that, but not to be confused, is the Warncliffe style blade. Now, if you look here, the Wharncliffe style blade comes swooping down, almost like a reverse drop point, actually. Comes swooping down, and then you have a virtual straight edge. Now, it's not perfectly straight, but it's basically a straight edge. That's what your Wharncliffe is going to look like. Some honorable mentions here that have to be mentioned just for the sake of all of us in the knife world. The leaf-shaped blade. I believe this is patented by Spyderco, and they're the only ones that you really see this style blade on. Is it the best looking blade? No, but it allows them to do a very, very, very huge flat grind, start to finish, and it makes these things come to a dangerously sharp edge, and they provide so much cutting power because it's just it's beautiful. And last honorable mention, you guys name this fucking thing for me. What the shit is that? I looked it up. I think I might have saw it, but take that for what you will. That is none of your typical blade shapes. I'm sure there is a name for it. I do not have it. That's really about it for this video. I know it was kind of boring, but for those of us who need a refresher on what exactly the blade's name is, it's difficult because there's so many different styles, and the hardest part is, let's take a look at this. This is considered a cleaver, okay? Because it's wide, it doesn't really slope down at all, and it just reminds you of a butcher cleaver, right? Well, with the way that this swoops in like this could also be a reverse Tanto, even though nobody would call it that. It's called a cleaver blade on Blade HQ. But it has a similar style to a reverse Tanto, has a similar style to a sheep's foot, because a sheep's foot has that swoop back, but it is not swooping, right? So you have all these things that intertwine together. Typical drop point style blade, but you can see how they're all slightly, there's no real, they intertwine together. So really what you do when you try to classify these is you try to pick the one closest to it, or you might say a modified sheep's foot, a modified Wharncliffe, a modified cleaver, whatever the case is. And that's just an excuse to say they really don't have a name for this because they do so many different things. I hope this was relatively entertaining. Cool, you got to see a couple knives. I hope those of you who don't know the names of all the blades, and this is by no means all of them, but these are the basics. I hope you found it useful. This is going to be in the blade in the knife 101 sections. It's not meant for somebody who's, been watching Metal Complex for 10 years. Okay, you guys already know this. He's probably already done videos that are better than this on it. This is just for those of you that watch that don't know. This is what you're getting. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe. Stay sharp. Have a good day.